So now I can start. I'm talking about maps on a stage after you. There's Yoko Minagai in the first row. No pressure whatsoever. All right, let's see how it's. First of all, the people have spoken, so thank you for those who participated to the, the LinkedIn context, the poll, which shirt should I wear? And this one won, so I'm wearing this one. And I will teach you, I rely on you, some 25 minutes, you tell me, cut it, just in case. So there is a class on wayfinding. We agreed yesterday, after a couple of beers maybe, that if you hear of any other wayfinding class in the world, you tell us and we go there and we suppress the teacher because now it's a fact. This is the only wayfinding class on the planet and it's happening here at NYU AD. What is a class on wayfinding doing in a liberal arts curriculum? I'll give you a little bit of information on who am I, just 2 slides, 1 slide on how I teach, 2 slides on what happened lately, and definitely more than 2 slides on wayfinding at NYU AD. I'm sorry there won't be any fancy animation because we have to abide to this inferior Windows platform. So, sorry I didn't say that. But anyway, so this is what I do now in my spare time, just to give you a sense, and it's Arabic calligraphy. If 15 years ago someone would have told me that I would do that, it would be totally incredible. But something happened, and here I am now in this amazing country that really, really profoundly changed me. And I'm from Rome. Then I went to learn English in Oxford for 2 weeks, stayed there 3 years. Then I went to Paris. Have you heard this proverb? You make plans, God laughs. And I took a big dive in the pool coming here to NYU Abu Dhabi, not to do design, but actually to teach it with 0 experience in teaching. I come from the work of practice. I consider myself a graphic designer. But I've been doing this for 13 years now, so I guess I qualify as an academic too. And the School of Design where I grew up, that for me had this Latin motto, so it's important. If it's a Latin quote in a slide, it's important. Latin and German words are always important in presentation. So experientia magistra rerum. Experience is the teacher of things. Enrico Cogno was my teacher here at the school. If you ask me to pick up a name, it would probably be Otel Eicher or Death Realm. I grew up breathing modernism. So I love Steven Stagmeister, but then I go back always to Vignelli. I'm that kind of person. I love fancy design, then I always go back to that thing, So when a student of mine come up with this kind of poster for a ballet using 2 letters to do this, I'm in awe. Since 2011, oh, by the way, that's me and that Erin, I will introduce her later, but that's the design department, okay? So I'm kind of all by myself here. And I design few courses on graphic design. And the interesting thing is that this first batch of classes are design electives. This is a liberal art curriculum. We have 20-something majors, students graduate in engineering, biology, or arts, and they pick up, they cherry pick the classes they want to take, and these are design elective, but these last 2 are part of what we call the core curriculum, a batch of courses that we want the students to take. They are question-derived rather than, elective for a specific discipline. One is on creativity, redesign, and one is actually wayfinding. My research, if you want to know something about my research, you can go and check on designerrands.com, is where me and the philosopher Roberto Casati of Institut Nicole Paris, we share ideas on design. A book is in the pipeline. One day I will get a sabbatical, and I promise the book will become real. And on the social media formerly known as Twitter, there is also an hashtag you can follow as Design Errands. I refuse to refer to that branding change. It's the worst rebranding ever. So for me, it will always be the media formerly known as Twitter. And if you want to know more about what's happening actually here, you can go and check nyuad.design, kept alive by the fabulous Erin Collins over there. So me and her, that's the visual design department. Okay? If you want to give a job offer, don't you dare, okay? Okay, this is what we've been doing. I come from branding. I come from visual identity. So as soon as there's an opportunity, hey, students, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Real clients, WWF, to name one. And we've been pretty good at that, gaining also some awards, some recognitions. But this is the question for today, okay? There was a fancy animation here, but again, it's not keynote. So, wayfinding in a liberal arts curriculum, really. I mean, in the core, no less. First of all, we have to acknowledge and thanks two people, Brian Waterman, colleague that now is in New York, and the late Hilary Ballon, she's no longer with us. They had the intuition, checking the syllabus of a graphic design class about maps and wayfinding, say, I think there's something there. Why don't you frame it around the question? And the question is, what does it mean to be oriented? What does it mean to be disoriented? What do you do when you don't find your way? And that is the birth of the wayfinding class. We are talking about, yes, 2016. One slide on methodology. I think that teaching is not the art of explaining things so much as the art of leaving things out, okay? So you notice that that was repeated. Probably not. So maybe there's something about how do we read, how we see things. That's how I leave things. That's how I like to talk about it. So this is a quote from this guy that I found on the internet. Inside should hover, just out of reach, but within range. That's what I do with my students. There's something that I actually wait for them to, oh, by the way, I found another book about it. This is where it started. It's a slide taken from a 2014 workshop in Paris. I guess I was wearing the same shirt. And it's very dear to me because it's the first time I actually encountered the name of a certain Hugh Cherovich. There was you got to check what this guy is doing, because that was the idea. It really struck me that a transit system aesthetic becomes iconic. It's become part of a city cultural identity. We're not talking anymore about the tools for a traveler to go from A to B, but something a little bit more intense, interesting. In the class, now I'm going to give you some cut and paste from what happened in the class. We start from books, of course, the literature about it, and good luck with that. 2 out of 3 are out of print. And the super cool thing is that a lot of them, they even disagree. You take the Gibson or the Permollerup, they don't agree on the taxonomy. This is a call for all of us, maybe for you guys, the younger guys. We have to find some agreement. You mentioned nomenclature, taxonomy. We need to reach the level then when we say something, we all understand we're talking about the same thing. And we're not there yet. But we can take some principle. This is the flip of the book I showed you before. And there's some cool things that I want to make sure that the student understand when they approach wayfinding, thinking is a graphic design class. And there's the famous quote by David Carson. I love graphic design because no matter what you do, nobody dies in graphic design. If you design a map wrong, people might die, okay? This is not that kind of design. It's not cosmetics, it's not embellishment, it's science. So there's a strong component, and it has a social impact. So we make those principles on our own. I will bring this book, which is a sort of collection of the works done by the class. Some are quite, they're good. I don't tell in front of them, otherwise they get spoiled. Oops, they're here. But anyway, they're pretty good. We talk about paradigms. We talk about what is around us. How is the discipline working? So, for example, the sans serif paradigm. You just look around you and you can take note. Sans serif is the perfect choice for wayfinding. I'm not aware of any scientific paper where actually that choice is actually validated. But so it becomes a sort of paradigm. I see, okay, perfectly parallel line, and 3 identical car insides, okay? I give you this information, your brain acknowledge it because you are very educated people, but you refuse to believe it. So there's something in our brain that affects the way we perceive things. This is one stance that I take. My approach on design stems from psychology, theories of perception, way more than the theory of color or romantics idea of design. This is not a GIF, this is a static image. If you see some rotation, there's something in your brain, which is cool, okay, don't worry. But I say to my students, don't do drugs. Study perception. Same effects, cheaper and healthier. Sometimes you do need the experts, because otherwise you'll jump into conclusion. Just to give you one example, readability, legibility, and the issue of dyslexia. The research is vast. We are far from any agreement. It's super, super complicated. So this is the moment where all of a sudden you realize that there's a lovely interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity that is required to a designer, but sometimes you really, really need the expert opinion to make sure that some things actually work. The case studies is a typeface designed by a dyslexic designer for dyslexic that turned out to be not the ideal choice for dyslexic people. The moment you get into wayfinding, you end up in a wayfinding rant. You bring two wayfinders together, after 5 minutes they are complaining about something. Because we train our eyes, so who put that bush in front of a map? But it's the complexity, and when your eyes are trained, you already know what's gonna happen, Thank you, Fra, for, I forced my wife to do this. From typefaces, sign, and again we go to landscapes and identities. There's something more. You design a map in a certain way, that map becomes part of a certain environment. It creates a sense of attachment, belonging perhaps, identities. This is a photo, this is my bathroom in Paris. Is it this because it reminds me of, I love Albert Botton, no, it's just, is there a technical information on the mug that make that mug ending on my sink? Probably not, but it's Paris, okay? And then we start, once we have trained our eyes, we move to the concept of the wayfinding not being just a subset of design, but something that allows you to understand design and environment. So this beautiful photo of this beautiful promenade to the beach, all of a sudden, once you're trained, you see it as something terrible. You see the horror of a forced design choice that was not imposed by nature. Someone decided that it was the right moment to put a step, actually 5 steps, and hence create a barrier. Hence, separating the experience, they say, that I can have, and my mom. My mom doesn't take those steps without a handrail. Or my friend Taz, who's on a wheelchair. But this is not something that has been a natural occurrence. Someone designed those steps. And then, of course, we raise questions. I tweet about it. Actually, that's the beach rotana. You alert them. They say, thank you very much, and they fix it. They provide the solution. What we do, okay, we thank them because we want to be polite, but then as designer, we even question the solution. Okay, this is still the kind of design that screams a norm, preconceived norm, able-bodied. I decided that's the norm, and the remedial solution, us and them. You could do it like this, all right? So next time you see stairs and the ramp, just look at the necessity of the stairs rather than checking out. For example, it's not useful. Okay. So we are live streaming. It's good. Fantastic. So case history, starting point. I lived in Paris. I quote Paris. I try to be not too much Paris central, so I pick up the work of Eric Spiekermann in Berlin. Again, sorry, I forced my wife to pose like, I want the same selfie, or things like that. Don't do this, okay? Save yourself. Don't become a type nerd. I was to Paris, look at this. Oh my gosh, it's like Frutiger, but slightly condensed. Come on. So do this. Go and see the museum. Forget about the transport system. Don't even think about it. Then maybe think about it later. Well, I found my way so easily. I don't even speak German. How'd that happen? That means there's a good system in place. And maybe one day Abu Dhabi will be like Berlin, thanks to you guys. These are some work of my students, I was supposed to grade them last week, and they say, no, I think I'm going to bring to Hugh and Yo, and people would say, maybe they can grade you, okay? Quote from a student, well, Brightspace is the platform we use to submit the assignment, and, I can tell the difference. It's banal, it's trivial, but practice do make perfect. That's what it did. They are a designer, but we asked them to write with no ChatGPT. We ask them to be able to express their content in words so that it can be shared, archived, saved as PDF, circulate. So there's a nice platform, again, I can share it with everybody, where you can read what they say about wayfinding. And I have to say, some of them are so cool. And because we have more than 100 nationalities here, so you have a blog from a guy from Asia traveling to Madrid, a guy from Montreal found himself lost in Berlin, and applying the principle of wayfinding to the website. See, maybe there are cultural differences, the West and the East, how we approach mapping on websites. Super, super interesting. And the cool thing is that 99% of those things I wouldn't be able to teach. Because I know nothing about their personal experience. There was a blog about wayfinding in Mongolia. It was fantastic. It's not you don't find it in my syllabus, because I love that one. Was a student, interpreting our campus as a Doritos simulation, a tortilla simulation, because of the shape of our building. So NYU AD stands for New York University All Doritos. From wayfinding to gameplay, And this is the things that really, really interesting. Okay, guys, I pick up this course like this. I didn't even know what it is. But now that I discover it, why is not everyone talking about it? Because it's about equity. It's about accessibility. It's about making the world a better place. Everybody should know about it. I went and then, some reference. Oh, by the way, spoiler alerts. You are going to be surprised in a couple of weeks about some of the slides. Okay, so act surprising. But of course, again, a little bit of theory. What doesn't make a map a perfect map? There's no theory of graphic design yet. Maybe they will never have it. But there are some anchor points that are really, really interesting. One, of course, is Jacques-Joseph Minard's map of the Napoleon invasion to Moscow. And then we talk about what is familiar and what is not familiar when we talk about maps. Again, this is a spoiler alert for next week. So this is not entirely familiar, but I saw what you did. Yeah, but have you seen what we have been doing for centuries in the way we represent the world? Because it could have been like this. It's as plausible as this one. Sometimes it's hard to keep the faith when you talk about best practice because that's a pedestrian crossing. You have to imagine Steve Carell doing, here, okay? In my keynote, there's an animation. But you can do it. Oh, my God. Again, this is a map. This is the you are here, and there's a bush in front of it. The only problem is that actually, when you're here, you are here. It's on the opposite side of campus. Again. What's wrong with this? Gravel, I've been told, not exactly the best surface for, if you're wearing your Louboutin or if you're on a wheelchair. I hope nobody has been involved with wayfinding is in the room, but sometimes, you notice things, and you just, again, it has been changed, okay? By the way, I don't think it's because of this tweet, but, just a tip, don't use equilateral triangle for, as arrow. And then you find it that on an event on your own campus, someone decided to do the same. And then I have this conversation with the student, send me this photo, say, Professor, why that person or someone thought that they need to tell me that I can't turn right here? and actually use a panel, use paint, time to actually make sure that it just spoiled my weekend. I really wanted to. Okay, so how do we learn about this trying to have fun at the same time? So I'm going to introduce to you the now quasi-legendary impossible pictogram exercise. That basically it goes like this. It goes like this. Pictogram, starting point. Again, in a nutshell, some starting point. In pictogram, I could start from Lascaux cave. I could start from the first hand, the human trace. I start from Otto Neurath to save time. But the idea that words divide, pictures unite, so the power of pictogram to depict a situation and reality. Of course, a lot of beautiful case histories from Olympics games and et cetera, et cetera. And then I ask them to look around them, pick up situation where something in terms of the experience is not working. And then try to fix it with a pictogram. But Let's see in detail. For example, this is, this is where I live in Paris. It's super cool. There are maps, and there's a bin. Maps if you want to see the maps, bins if you want to put trash in it. So everything is fine until something like this happens. If something like this happens, the two experiences cannot happen simultaneously. Sorry, I'm seeing the map. Sorry, I have to put the trash on. So the idea, of course, you cannot sit here if someone is want to look at that map. So the placement of this object creates this embarrassing situation. So here's the brief. Real issue, look around you, find the real issue. Think about an insane solution. Has to be crazy, totally crazy, impossible to be real. And try to present it with an impeccable visualization. And then we'll see what we get. Oop. The unexpected source of this brief is the clown commandments. I don't know if you're familiar. Think about Mr. Bean. If Mr. Bean has to go from here to there, it won't do that. It will try to, make a hole in the wall, And everything is fine. Everything, always happy. There's always a solution. So, for example, this one, here's a pictogram, okay? Careful. So maybe the pictogram would say, mind your wallet. While you're here, check this here. I could have been way more creative, but I try to be polite and classy. Same here. Please allow the people to lean on your shoulder as they try to look at the map. Beware of them kicking you back. Bring binoculars because you're going to see the map from here. So let's see what the students do about it. Okay, so this is a classic example. You will see it's just outside here. There's a beautiful lawn in the middle of a desired path. I don't have to tell you what a desired path here. So the student think about it. Is it good? Is it bad? Can I walk on it? Should I not walk on it? Should I go around it? And then they start thinking about a solution with this idea of making an insane solution, but presented properly. So that's the placement. I'm sorry I don't have a better photo of this, but here's the situation. So you cannot walk on the grass. Easy peasy. You cut a palm tree. And, okay, and you did it, all right? Fantastic. You're asked to create a proper panel, to work on it, sketch it. We're not joking about it. It has to do, you put the sign there in place. Again, by the way, this lawn is one of the favorite, topic for the student. Again, you cannot walk, or maybe, I don't know, but surely cats can do it. So you bribe a cat, and you walk, and you reach the cafeteria. Again, implementation in situ. During COVID, we were asked by proper stickers to sit 2 meters apart. It's actually 80 centimeters between the two stickers. No problem. I can just demolish a pillar, and that will create the perfect. Again, the presentation, as you can see, is in a given A2 template. They have to present the problem, do an analysis, and a setup of a recommendation as if it's absolutely real. There's one unprotected part of a terrace. It's actually the highest place on campus, and it's unprotected because the glass just ended a little bit before. So, okay, don't worry. It's not an opportunity for suicide. You just have to wait until the year 2195. Sea level rise, it will be a perfect platform for diving. I mean, in the meanwhile, you're getting a little bit old, but hey. A bush in front of a braille panel, you train your dog to set the bush on fire, easy peasy. And this is also one of my favorite. Again, this is real, okay? There is a map, and there are 2 lampposts in front of it. You just put the map on the side. No. You train, and you stretch the pole, and it's so. What do we get in the end with this exercise? There's a real issue, there's an insane solution, there are those impeccable visualizations. They're actually presented in the corridor at the end of the class. And trust me, what we get is great conversation. You call it awareness, call it sensibilization, making people sensitive about an issue, but we do make people think about it. How did unheard that happen? How did I allow it if I'm in charge? And so on. Oh, sorry, that was about teletransportation. Why not? When it's really, really hot, you can just get into a wall and be teletransported. Digging tunnel from one place to another, again. That was a catapult site launch to be transferred again. There was even the platform. And this student, she's not here, actually, the author. She was so cool because she even printed the contractor notice as if it was a real thing. Please don't stay here from Monday. And there were people like, what's going on here? You know, because stairs are deadly in the heat, so you activate the catapult. It's true, our stairs are so hot in the heat. Why don't you take a catapult? Perfect solution. And they get popular, they get those. Again, this was a warning about the weather condition. It's not out of religious consideration, just cover yourself because you're gonna freeze. And this is my attempt to fix a situation we had for 10 years almost, where we had 2 basement floors named B1 and B2, and 2 faculty buildings named B1 and B2. You know, so meet me in B2. So I tried to just make a B look at it. And then again, people start noticing things. Oh, that's actually cool. This is better. There's even a hint of a tactile path. Oh, there's the thingy you can press. So it, yes, but in order to get there, again, don't do it with your best shoes, or don't even try to do it if you're on a wheelchair. So the student reaction, you know, Goffredo, I hate you. Now I see things. My life was so cool. Now I see those things. But with great powers come great responsibility. And again, I told you they're cool. So this is a student, we were talking about accessibility. She went to the Health and Wellness Center, rented a wheelchair, and spent a weekend around campus. No, not accessible, no, so-and-so. And then she wrote a letter to a vice chancellor about, I don't think that's the university you promised me. And that started a conversation, which still is ongoing. We are fixing things little by little, but it started with student impulse. This is a photo from 2012, I guess, one of the first projects, designing the timetable for our transportation system when we didn't have this campus. We had a campus downtown. And then this is a Photoshop simulation, because whatever you do has to look real, has to create. So for example, this is a reality now, the city logo, but how will this act? This is also a reality. This is a reality, this is a reality. No. The one they use is terrible anyway. So they participate. You come to the art center, you still see this one. I've been there for 10 years. But because we really use our campus as a playground for experimentation. Again, something like trivial. You just poll the people outside the theater and say, what do you miss? I miss a clear indication of where the restrooms are. Okay, so the one would be the first thing you notice as you exit, and then a bigger one at the end of the corridor, so you'll find the restroom. Again, humor, we want to have fun. So the students, they decided to do a film festival about wayfinding. So we have the signing. If you go to our eyeline, you have a lot of meaningless signs, and they created the signing. Saving Student Ryan, we had some automated doors that were not really friendly. And Get Out, we did have an emergency exit. The door was hinged on the wrong side, so it actually, in the case of a big flow of people, it would actually push you underneath a stairwell. It has been fixed. But we had to do it like the real experience, because a lot of people didn't understand what was wrong, just with having a door hinged on the left and on the right. And when you explain it, oh, I'll tell you what is the difference, death or life. And then, okay, we got it. So this has been fixed. On-campus shows, again, this was a pun on campus rights or campus rights that happened here, actually, in the atrium. And a series of posters, again, about how to combine wayfinding, safety, and the sense of community. They were presented like this at the end of the year. The interesting thing also, students here, if they do wayfinding and design with me, they are really exposed to many, many things. Again, you stem from designing and you go in the different direction. This is a project for an oriented globe, which means basically it's a globe. You oriented with the north, the place where you are. So it becomes a perfect model of what you are actually happening. So you can tell immediately from where you are, where is night and where is day. It's in basic information, but actually giving the state of geography knowledge in younger generation, I wouldn't say it's even that basic. Some of them, it's like revolutionary information. Oh, look where Patagonia is. Okay, and this is an experiment that I did with the gentleman over there, Matt Caro. Yeah, engineer. We brought some students on the very top of the Burj Khalifa, higher than Tom Cruise. No, actually not true. Then eventually he was given access to the tower, so he is now still higher. But at the time we went higher than Tom Cruise, and we filmed the shadow of the Burj Khalifa. Okay? Easy peasy. You do a time lapse. No, but we frame so that the shadow is always in the center. So you just have it very long, very short, very long, and you see the planet rotating around it, which is what happens every day, but we don't see it. You can go on YouTube and now see the Earth rotation. This is just to show you, again, interdisciplinarity. Last month, there was a seminar on iconic representation organized by the philosophy department. Of course, I was invited, and I'm going to go very, very quickly, blah, 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 blah. You see how insecure I am? The moment I do slides for other people, I go back to Helvetica Bold. And so very quickly, I presented impossible pictograms to them, okay? And I presented the fact that we don't agree much on the terminology. We still have a lot of work to do. Some of the example of the reality you see around it in terms of representation of iconic. Please disturb or not disturb the researcher. This is in Washington. Yeah. Try to go as quick as. An elevating logo, but it depends how you see it. When you are on board of the plane, this is how you see it. All of a sudden, I don't like it anymore. And iconicity. We all refer to analogy. All our icons are an analog representation of an object. The shower bar, the soap bar is now losing its status, and maybe this will be interpreted as feel free to use your mobile phone while you're showering. And again, I show them the impossible picture. The interesting thing is that it's a very quick and easy step when the students realize there's something bigger happening. We are in a country, I'm older than this country. Still painful to realize it, but, and it's a country that they put themselves on the map, pun intended, with what? With iconic architecture. Have you seen the Burj Al Arab? Have you seen the Burj Khalifa? Have you seen the Grand Mosque? Those things and with that, a system of representation that goes up to the definition of an identity, a logo. And this in a context that changes so much, so quickly. This typeface was considered cool 15 years ago. Now it's not cool anymore. No, we don't want these Orientalist things. There's a proper typeface. There's a beautiful modern typeface that somehow it's a tribute to the Arabic calligraphy without being, just embellishment on a Latin font. And that happened like this. It's great. If you're a designer, being in this country is just amazing. And again, the moment you start talking about it, wait a minute, the moment I'm thinking about accessibility, the moment I'm thinking about why should I do this? Why should I do it? And then all of a sudden you find yourself, you're talking about ethics, you're talking about morality. So for example, we talk about Ron Mace and his work about universal design. And we talk about the definition, disability, handicap. Yes, we change the taxonomy, but we know that there's something not entirely true. Maybe we can frame it as a part of the human condition. And we don't call it disability, we might call it diminution. So we rethink disability and diminution as elements of the human condition. That's who we are. We are not perfect. We don't spot the typos, right? Even when they are repeated. Guys, come on. So disability and diminution are inscribed in our nature. And if you didn't spot this one, now the question, excuse me, what does that have to do with design? Excuse me, what does that have to do? The guy's eating, sorry. Excuse me, what this has to do with design? Isn't that a lovely picture? But this is a picture I will not be able to show 50 years from now. The guy is eating a sentient being, piece of meat. We see the trends, we know the trends. We have to intercept it. I love barbecue, and I'm gonna still have my job tomorrow. 100 years from now, you will not hear a single professor at NYU on a stage saying, I love barbecue. Mark my words. We won't be there, but just mark my words. So it's all about design and defining the zeitgeist. Now a German word, told is important. The spirit of the time, l'air du temps. This, why we're talking about certain things now and we didn't talk about them earlier. So I end the class with the student, again, this is a massive spoiler alert or something, talking about something that we really all agree. Accessible toilet, isn't that beautiful, pure, noble, that we conceive the space in a way that people with disability can at least, when physiology urge, can be on their own, they don't need assistance. Everybody agrees on that. Then I ask my student provocatively, what would you think about an individual that say, I really don't care about the issue? What? Yeah, disabled toilets? I just don't care. And they are, they're very colorful in their opinion, naughty, insensitive, not human. And then I actually share with them that we're talking about my dad and my mom, two individuals who didn't care about disabled toilets for the vast part of their adult life, because nobody cared about it. Disabled toilets arrived in Italy in the late 80s. My dad and my mom already had their life. They grew up 3 kids, put food on our table, a roof on our head, 3 kids all to college. They were just not talking about that. And then I show them why, because, we go back to Middle Age history when people were labeled handicapped and they were forced to stage a crawling protest just to be seen. I mean, fathers and mothers leaving their handicapped kids out of the wheelchair, let them crawl in the stairs so that they are seen. Of course, that happened in the 15th century, right? March 90. In history time it's not even yesterday, it's early this morning. That is what happened. This is why I'm always, from that again, you start being prudent about applying standards of today to the past. And then there is an end. I always end the class with the design manifesto. 99% of the design manifesto I read are really boring and superfluous. This one is pretty cool, but it's not for you. It's just for the students of my class. I'm sorry. And so, what about wayfinding at NYU AD? Just to recap. It's all about design. Yes, we do influence flows, and actually more. We do more than that. It's time that people realize that. And you should reclaim your role. The moment you decide that, okay, I'm going to draw this map, I'm going to create this system for you, it's not a superficial activity. You are going to affect the life of individuals. As a designer or as someone aware of its relevance. I share the guilt from the designer who just say, well, it was my job, and the people who say, well, but, my cousin always draw very well. I thought he was the perfect person for the job, And be accountable, because it matters always, everywhere. There's not a culture. It's not a cultural thing. Oh, there's a lovely culture somewhere in that island where design doesn't matter, and if you take the wrong path, nothing bad happens. No, it's really a universal. Okay, I think, let's keep the conversation alive. I think I'm managing time. Thank you very much. We have Q&A now?
Yes, Q&A. We have time for that. I did not catch any of the typos, the repeated, so you caught me every single time. Good job. So I'm here for questions. I'll come around with the microphone if anyone has one. Anyone?
The secret is wait 47.9 seconds. Yeah. Roberto Casati told me that there's always a question of it. Because it's getting awkward. You see?
Being a subjective discipline, how do you grade students? How do they pass the module?
Who sent you? Was it you? Who said? Talking about grade? How do I grade students? I have to make it short. But the grading system is one of the worst shared tool we ever conceived in higher education. It's horrendous. It's pitiful. It's borderline degrading. I spent 14 weeks with a student. I interact. I share my knowledge, they give something back, we assess, and then after that, oh, by the way, Laura, it's a A minus or B plus. Alima, it's a C plus for you. What that means? It's so pathetic. I really, really hate this. This is something that I've been trying to do with zero success in EMEA because everybody does it. This is the default. This is the way things are done. And so, how do I grade it? At the best of my ability. Trying to be fair. Trying to get zero BS. Oh, I was late. My granddad died. It's the 7th time that he dies this year, or things like that. Or actually, when this, look, I tried this, but I just don't get it. Or this is super difficult for me. Why? Because I never hold a pen in my life. We're actually getting this now. People they do things that how do you do that? But then I ask you, okay, can you draw a square? Or how do you do that? Okay? How do I grade? At the best of my... Ask some of the students, they say pretty fair. Ask some others, they say it's a cycle. Ask others, they go, I'm going to report that guy because he's unfair. It's just... we had a conversation, I think it was last week, or in a class, they say, but what about effort? And then there's always the point, okay, but would you go on a plane that is, where the pilot is really, really bad, but he put so much effort in it? So, I don't know how to answer. At the best of my capacity, I try to be fair, but the system is not perfect, to put it mildly, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Yep.
Yeah, so how many years you have been teaching this course, and are there any students who have graduated and actually did the work and you have some examples of it? Because it's a very unique course where you have very different, they're not approaching it from design, but they're approaching it a multidisciplinary, and probably there's more psychology in what you teach here and cognitive science that you teach here. So how are the students doing out? Because clients are very different.
We have, in terms of the number of students who actually get interest in that and then decided to pursue, it's very, very limited. We don't even offer a major in design. There's only a minor. But some of them, I would say, I don't have the number with you, but there is a pool of students that actually graduate with a minor in design and then apply to school, and they get to RISD, they get to Santa Cruz, ECAL, or MICA. The very good one, we actually call them back, like Erin. She graduated in design in 2014 here. And I think they're doing well. I receive a lot of feedback. This is what is also very dear to me, of people who make it now. They have launched their startup on business and disability in Oxford, or they're setting up a library in Dubai, but they say, but this principle, I got it from design. I check that the information is always shared in advance, blah, 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 the little things. So you feel, in that sense, validated. But the numbers are still very, very limited, as I say.
Thanks.
You're welcome.